Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you all may be. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. Hey, Crafty, Elderberry, I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. And it was this evening, about an hour or so ago, I was on with Andromeda 7, and we were talking about herbs and things and shamanism. And I always appreciate those ladies asking me on. I appreciate those ladies, and also Gaza, who was there. But I mean, um, and it's always good to see and interact with them folk. Um, and towards the end of the show, somebody asked about mulberry juice or the sap from a mulberry tree. And it's interesting. I opened up the page right back to it. So, what I'm going to do tonight is I don't have the facilities to be able to show you. Hey, Kimo Sabi, I do not have the resources to be able to show you pictures of these things. But I'm going to flip through a couple of my books and discuss a few things to get folks sort of in an idea about medicinal plants. Hey, Teresa, thanks for having me on tonight. So, the mulberry thing I was trying to get across to whoever was in the chat on your show, and I got to, this print's so small, I got to do the two, I got to put my bifocals on. It's two pair of glasses. Common name is red mulberry, but black mulberry, which probably grows more down here and is probably what I have. It says medicinal part bark. Okay, now I told folks in Teresa's show, to get more than one book, get two or three books. I recommend at least three different books from three different sources so that you can double check what things are used for, what the dosages are. Now, for example, mulberry, this gentleman, whoever he was eating, drinking, or anyway, the juice from bark juice. Okay. Now at the top of this, and I'm using this particular book. It's the herb book. Okay. And I've had this book for years. So in this, at the top, it says bark, and then down here at the bottom, it says the bark of the mulberry root, okay, is a traditional European remedy for tapeworms. It is used as a decoction. Mulberry bark has also long been used as a laxative preparation for home use. The parts of the red mulberry leaf contains a milky juice that was used by some American Indians to cure ringworm on the scalp. Now, the milky juice and the unripe fruit cause hallucinations, nervous stimulation, and stomach upset. So if somebody says, well, wow, the mulberry's got, it's got medicinal properties. And somebody says, well, yeah, what about the bark? It's the bark of the root. If you read more into this, is it the bark? And it says quite clearly that if the milky juice and the unripe fruit cause hallucinations. So maybe that's why this individual likes, taking the juice, the sap from the tree. There are a lot of things that if you cook and you can eat them. But see, in this particular section, it doesn't say anything about eating the. Are you still talking about? Are you talking about mulberry? Now, one of the things I was talking about the other night was Kudzu, it came up. JKL. I had a friend of mine who wrote a book about kudzu. I think I saw it in here. Juniper, for example, parts the berries and the new twigs. And a lot of juniper is used. Well, folks in different countries use it to make gin. The juniper berries. It's used as an antiseptic, a diuretic, a stomatic, a tonic. Juniper is normally taken internally by eating the berries or making a tea from them. It is useful for digestive problems resulting from an underproduction of hydrochloric acid in the stomach, and it also helps for gastrointestinal infections, inflammations, and cramps. In large doses or with prolonged usage, it can irritate the kidneys and urinary tracts and passages. Therefore, it is not recommended for those with kidney problems. So, there are things. Max is in the house. Hey, hi, Max. So just because somebody told you or you heard somewhere that, eating mulberry leaves or juice or bark or whatever is okay, I would recommend that maybe you should check up on things. And apparently this person, it sounded like they'd been taking this juice for a while. And if it's giving them, a stimulation, but is it giving them, you're doing a class in 20 minutes, Bax? I'm looking for kudzu. I thought it was in here. Actually, it's not in this book. I just read it. Anyway, there's one that a plant, 12 minutes, you're starting at the end of the. Yeah, I hate to be on while you're doing something, Max. But there's something like fennel, for example. The root and the seeds. I just finished a show on 2,000-year-old microwave weapon. Cool beans. Antispasmodic, aromatic, carminative, diuretic, expectorant, stimulant, stomachic. The seeds are usually used, but both seeds and root are excellent stomach and intestinal remedies. And it's fennel. And the fennel is, you can just get, hey, Mel, how are you? All right, Max. I hate to do a show when somebody else is doing something. Keep up the good work, Max. And I mean that sincerely. So there are some things that you can get a hold of yourself. But here's one of the things that almost every one of these herbs that's in these books always have a caution. And I don't think people they should read the caution first before they go off and, well, this is good for you, or, taking something over a long period of time, for example. It's like what I was just reading in that if you take it over a long period of time, it'll give you kidney and urinary tract infections and issues and problems. So you could be treating one thing and take so much of it, well, it must be good for me, and that's not true. Sometimes you I've warned people on different things over the years, and I will continue to, make my opinion. But in making teas, a lot of times people overboil their water, and they just, or they don't bring the water hot enough, or they don't let it steep, or they don't crush the leaves, or there are things that people say, well, it's good for you, kind of thing. Well, but is it? Seriously, is it? So we have to be careful. And, a purgative is going to make you throw up a poop. A diuretic is going to make you pee. Coffee is a diuretic. Certain teas can be a diuretic, right? So, a purgative or whatever, a stimulant. Well, what kind? Well, if you've got heart problems and you want to take something of one of these things that's supposed to cure something else, and you've got heart issues and it makes your heart palpitate too much, it could kill you. But then again, you could take 1/10 of a dose over a period of 2 weeks or something, and it actually help you. Okay. So, how you take whatever you make from whatever it is that you're doing. And I have a lot of people that, oh, dandelion this and dandelion that. I got a lot of dandelions in my yard this year. And to try to collect what is necessary, even though I got a bunch of them in a closed area, it's like, oh, holy crap. And a lot of the dandelion root is what's necessary. Now, in pulling up them little roots, they ain't much, right? Now, maybe in another place, hey, Susie Q, how are you? And maybe in another place, on another part of the country, the roots are bigger or something. Not here. And right now, the ground's so hard you can't pull them up, you can't dig them up. I mean, it's just like, okay, so now what are you going to do? But anyway, but you're supposed there's one remedy in there, and for dandelions that I read, it was like take 1/2 of a teaspoonful of this, once a day, kind of thing. Do you know how many roots it takes to make a 1/2 a teaspoon? I'd be digging up my whole yard to try to get enough. You follow me? So folks didn't go out and collect all the dandelions. All right. They collected things when they needed them. Now, if there were a lot of them, they dig them up, they, dry them, turn them into tinctures, which basically a tincture. And alcohol is normally used for a lot of things. It's not necessarily cooking. But for those of us who tried to make hash oil way back in the old days, we use denatured alcohol, and it pulls the oils and stuff out of the leaves of of anything. Okay, not just leaves, but so it takes the oils and the resins out, and what is left, after you wash it, in the denatured alcohol, which the reason for denatured is that it evaporates quickly, so that you keep swirling the solution around, and what you end up in the bottom of the bowl is a tar-like substance, and that is, quote, the hash oil, okay, or the oil. So in making a tincture, it's very similar in that whatever the oils are, it's kind of sort of based with an alcohol. So you get a little tincture of something that's really strong, and you take a couple of drops of this, okay, literally 2 drops, 6 drops. And one thing I was looking at, just thumbing through the book, it was like 12 drops every day in a cup. Well, 12 drops, that's like 1, 2, 3. That's kind of sort of a lot. That's almost like a quarter teaspoon kind of thing or something. But anyway, but to the point of that, different tinctures, how you make the tincture, how strong the tincture is. So 10 or 12 drops of a tincture of this or that could really mean too much, because its strength could be higher, or maybe it's not as much. So, but I would go on the side of that. It could be more. It could be more stronger. It could be stronger and more effective. But how do you gauge how strong a homemade tincture is? Well, there's information out on the internet, but I'm here to tell you: don't watch one person, watch 10 people. And there are some, I don't have anything off the top of my head right now. Hey, Pearl. Um, but that sometimes it's just easier to stick with things that you know. But people who want to go into herbology, it's like, all right, okay. So what do you want to make? What is it that you think that you need? What ails you? You want a curative? You want a purgative? If you want a purgative, it's going to act sort of like a laxative, right? It's going to be that covey of quail I was talking about the other night, you know. Uh, but anyway, for those of you that were there for that story at 7 hours or something like that. But anyway, so my thing about herbs is you want to learn about it, you can watch a video. We can get on here and discuss different herbs and the properties, how to, turn them into a tea or something like that for us to use. But here's the thing for the novice, get, I highly recommend, the herb book. It's in paperback. I've had this book for years. Teresa showed a couple of books, and I think I have one of them upstairs somewhere. I got so many books, and they're all over the different place. But this one here, especially medicinal plants, and they have them for the eastern, central, and western sides of the United States, and a different place. It's Peterson Field Guides. And so, depending on where you live, in the country, will depend on what kind of plants that you have. So I have been to several powwows where people have, collected herbs. They have real honest to God herb gardens and so forth. And I've bought, plastic bags full of their herbs. And anytime you take somebody else's herbs, but they got a thing that's it's a disclaimer, you buy these herbs, you know what to do with them. We're not selling them for anything, but you know what to do with them. And if you don't, that's your fault. So, we know what they're for and we can have a discussion, but we're not doctors. But we do sell, different types of herbs. Okay. So you can get ginseng, which has properties. You can grow ginger. It has properties. Garlic has properties. Peppermint and the different mints have properties. Pennyroyal, whether it's you can take it or not, but as an aromatic. So when people discuss medicinals, okay, what kind? Where you at? What part of the world are you in? Because it does matter. Unless you're buying these things online, which I'm not saying that you shouldn't. But if you're buying these things online, then at least do a little bit of info. That you will try to you will try your best to read up on it before you do any kind of taking of something, especially internally. But there are quite a few things that if you rub on your body, you can have some people could have a very allergic reaction to. There's a certain plant out in the woods, and I know what it looks like, but I can't tell you what it is. And at the end of the year, I think I'm right. They have these little purple berries on them. Hey, can I have some of your purple berries? Yes, I've been eating them for 6 or 7 weeks now. All right, good books you could rent for telling me more about surviving off the land and berry bushes and stuff that I can use both in flood and survival and herbal medicine. Yeah, the ones I just showed you. Get a Peterson's guide on medicinals, and they have a Peterson's guide on edible wild plants. I have this book that I've had for many years, a field guide to edible wild plants. And Jody, it really depends on where you live. I mean, you're up north. I'm down here in the south. We have swamp cabbage, and you don't. Period. Well, what's swamp cabbage? Basically, it's a palmetto bush. So there are places that have palmettos, but in the middle of the United States, you ain't got palmetto bushes just running around. Yeah, field guide. There are quite a few good books on wild edible plants, but here's the thing about the Petersons. This particular one I have is for Eastern and Central United States. It's not for Europe. It's not for someplace else. Okay. Oh, it's okay, Jody. But here's the thing: it for everybody. If you got this book from the Eastern Central and you live on the Pacific Coast, you're going to be screwed because you ain't got these things growing out there. Okay, and vice versa. So you have to study what's in your neighborhood. And what I would suggest, if you can get out, even drive slow down country roads and look along fence rows, farmers fence rows, or not in the ditch per se, but on the right of way up, away from the road, further away from the road. There are lots of things that grow along the side of the road that people just don't have a clue. This one time I was with Daryl. I still can't remember his last name. I remembered it the other night, but anyway. So but we took a walk along the edge of this field, and he goes, "There's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one, there's one." And I looked around, and all I saw was weeds. And he said, "Yeah, but that's that, and that's a curly dock, and that's this over here, and see that little plant right there that's really small, and yeah, well, that's one of those." Oh, holy crap! So, and we had just taken this short little walk. I thought we were like going to have to walk for miles to get enough stuff. And within 15 minutes of walking, and I had made a VHS tape of this years ago. It was back in 2003. I don't know where the tape is. Don't have anything to play it on. But, Daryl was one of those folks that he showed people hands on. You could, sign up for one of his classes or sign up for one of his walks or whatever, and he would show you how to make this stuff yourself. So there was a class. I'm not quite sure where the class was, to be quite honestly. It was one of the powwows. And he took everybody out that had signed up for his class, and they went around and they came back. And the stuff that they gathered, they put together and made a salve. And I rented this salve about a year or so ago. But everybody took home their own salve, and he had extra salve, and I got a hold of some. But I would buy this salve from him, and it would cure. You could eat it. It was so safe, but it was so good. I mean, you got a sting, people that had open wounds. There were testimonies that he had from people who, this one man was going to lose his foot. And because he had stepped on something, he had diabetes. And he told the guy, he said, "Look, can I treat your foot with my salve? And if it doesn't work, you're going to lose your foot anyway, right? What do you got to lose?" And 2 days later, it already started healing up, and they didn't cut off his foot. But because he's medicinal, hey, Chloe, because he's a root doctor. Of course, I gave some of this salve to my doctor years ago, and she goes, "I can't give it to my patients." But she, raises horses, thoroughbred horses, racing horses. And she goes, "I use it on my horses, and it's great. I used it on my cows. It's great, but I'll buy some if you can get in touch with this guy. This stuff is great." And I just gave her this little jar as a present. She said, "It'll just, nicks and burns and bites and stuff." And yeah. And so it isn't hard to do, but you got to know what to do. So you can look at a plant and go, "Wow, that's a possibly a medicinal plant." Yeah, but do you know what to do with it? That's the secret. Do you know what to do with it? Well, in reading all the books that I have, and I consider that if number one, go look for them, get you a Peterson's guide and go out and look for them. Because you can say, well, this is good for this and that and the other thing, but if you can't find it, then what good is it? And I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but it's the truth. I mean, I can read the book all day long, but if I cannot identify them in the wild, I am so screwed, you know? So, what we do and to learn how to do this is take this, sort of one step at a time, in that first, you don't have to learn um, the reticulus peticulus Latin term if you want to. I can't remember that. But learn the common name usually that's in the book. Like, for example, tansy comes to mind, or fennel, or onion. Onions have curative powers. And just because they're onions, you don't necessarily have to do anything. Just eat them. Same thing with garlic. Now there are some folks that like, well, garlic don't really do me any good. I use a lot of garlic. Now, not as much as some people do, but for me, I fried me a hamburger tonight because I was late for the show and I wanted something to eat. And but I take fresh garlic, crushed garlic in the bottles because it's just really easy to use. And take a half a teaspoon of the garlic and smear it on top of my hamburger after it, while it's cooking and after, and it's part of my sandwich. So, and I have natural garlic outside, but it's starting to change colors now. And so the greens are turning into yellows and browns, but the garlic leaves are still good to chew on. You get the medicine right to you. So the all herbalists that I've had conversation with have given this. Love garlic. Give little handsome a hug for me. He has the sweetest little calming face while sleeping. Okay, I know you're not talking about me. Maybe I do. Do I have a calming face while I'm sleeping? I'm giving myself away here. But anyway, so with this thing about herbs and so forth, yes, herbs are essential. And the Chinese use certain herbs differently than Native Americans used them. Was one more right than the other? I don't think so. It's just they learned different things over the years. And I got to say that in traditionally the Chinese were all about making stuff, and where Native Americans were a whole lot less. It was just for the tribe or a local area, or the medicine woman. A lot of times it was an elder woman who knew all these little tinctures and stuff. And you go, well, why are the older women? Because a lot of the men were killed in battle or something like that. And so the women were much, got older, because they were still alive, versus the braves who might not have lived longer because of war parties and hunting and all that kind of stuff, getting trampled by beefalo. But so I would, if any of you are wanting to learn about herbs, the internet is okay, but I've checked on some things on the internet, and some of the stuff just does not jive with my books that I've had for 30 years. I've had a couple of these books before I bought this place. And so that means 40 years. So in 40 years later, stuff on the internet, I don't know who's typing it or who's putting it out there. Well, I've got a book on it. Yeah, but that don't mean your book is right. So get an old printing of something. Get an older book versus a newer one as far as remedies. If it's a new book, check their new remedies to the old-timey remedies. I mean, there are medicinal books and stuff, especially from the European side of things, that are hundreds of years old talking about some of this stuff. But if somebody, ooh, I licked the bark off of a mulberry tree. Really? Yeah, I haven't died yet. Okay, but just maybe your information doesn't jive with literally centuries of using certain herbs and roots and concoctions. So my 10-cent point about this is to be very cautious. I've used different medicines. I swear by mullein. I swear by some other things, bloodroot. I'm sorry, yellow root, but everything in a moderation now. So I would take a little bit of something before I took a lot of something, no matter what it is, because you don't know how your body's going to react. And if you're taking any kind of over the counter or pharmaceutical, you should be very careful because some of this stuff will interact with your medicines and even the doctors don't know about it. Because my doctor, she's herbalist and talking this and that, but she goes like, if you're going to take something, let me know. If you're going to do something, let me know. I want to check it with what I know and see if there's, yeah, use your local library too. That's a good source. I'm not saying that everything online is bogus, but I've looked up different things and different herbs in different places and read three of my books and then compared them and go, something's fishy about this. I'm just saying. So it's almost like um, now you know me. I'm a conspiracy theorist, and fire them up if you got them. I missed the 20 mark, and I was trying to be here on purpose for it. If you want to learn about herbs and things and stuff like that, and vegetables and stuff, check out Edgar Casey and some of his readings. Check out the ARE. You can become a member, and they put a lot of their stuff. I'm assuming by now on the internet. I haven't checked in with them. Excuse me, with them lately, but Casey had remedies for things for what was happening on the inside of your body that actually was rubbed on the outside of the body. Not everything, but there was those things. But lanolin and peanut oil and this and that, and I mean, people are taking stuff internally for rheumatism and that. And he suggested peanut oil for rubbing on your joints, on the outside for many people in some of this stuff. So I would say that if you're interested, if there's something you feel that is ailing you, then check out the Casey Foundation and buy a couple of books from Edgar Casey, especially if it has to do with, you know, those things that he talked about, healing and so forth like that. And get at least three books. Now, my books were all published back in the day because they're that old. But let me check. But this herb book, they use I'm going to try to find a reference in here. Yeah, this book was published in 1974. Okay. So I've had a a hard copy of this for all this time. Uh some of these things in this here, uh, that they go back to Chinese herbalism and Greek herbalism, and so Native Americans had their own, but they didn't write it down. You know what I mean? Most feared tribe. They had powerful shaman warriors. Yeah, let's see. I want to know about some Indian tribe known as the Redskin Indians. Mel, I have never heard of the Redskin tribe. There were those tribes who were more known as warriors. I mean, the Navajo are very, there are more Navajo Indian tribe members that have been in the Marines than any other, like, per capita of peoples, because they saw being a warrior as something. Red stick. Uh, I've got two books on 500 nations, and I have not to say that there isn't a tribe of red stick, but just there could have been a small tribe of people of 30 or 40 or even 100 people, and they were a tribe of people, don't get me wrong, and they may have lasted for several decades or maybe a generation or two, depending on where they lived and who survived. But very rarely do Native Americans ever discuss cannibalism. It's got to be a really, and there's some in the native tribes, especially a little bit more out west than eastern, but there are those who seem to be afflicted for cannibalism. Now, it is true that a warrior might have cut a guy's heart out and ate it, or his liver or something like that, and that was to steal their power. But that doesn't make them cannibals. Now, I don't think I could do it, but I didn't grow up back then. So, stealing a man's energy and eating his heart or his liver as part of a warrior thing or whatever, okie doke, versus is the whole tribe eating the guy, And for all the people that I've met and the legend keeper that I knew quite well for quite a few years, redskin warriors, most native tribes are red skin. I'm not saying that I'm wrong about this or right about it either way, but I've not heard of redskin warriors. Most Native Americans, the Navajo, were redskin warriors. Okay, I mean their skin is red. Okay, and some Cherokee are really deep red, but a lot of Cherokee down here in the South were just well tanned. You'd almost mistake some of these folks of like, did you have a little bit of black in you kind of thing. But way back in the day, after all these years and generations, when the black folk were first brought to this continent, and people intermarried and intermingled and did stuff, so the Lakota still say that they have a true bloodline. The Cherokees say that they still have a true bloodline. But I often wonder if that true bloodline 200 or 300 years ago hasn't been peppered with other people. It is the old Red Stick faction, the one Andrew Jackson attacked. Okay, I'm not aware of it. But to the point, though, uh, they were the very much exception to the rule as to what the rest of the tribes. And I've not heard of that one. I'll have to look that up, Barry. Red stick. Okay. But there were some tribes that folks. Now here's the thing. We have to let me add this. Okay. There are some native folks of all tribes, okay, have been infiltrated with, I just have to say this, but with alien essence, okay? And some of these aliens are like the TV show the V, and they're the Vlash. And they're known for eating and doing things and stuff like that and eating people alive. And so there have been ET factors that this one particular tribe might have had the influence of some of these really nasty beings. Because they've been, these ET folk have been in and out for a long time. But one of the things that I've noticed, though, ET didn't bother native peoples too much here on Turtle Island. Yeah, they influenced, and I got in with them and stuff like that. But they were really interested in stuff in China and Pakistan and Turkey and all through there, England and all. They love that part of the world. North America was really late on the list because they saw people living down there in teepees and went, okay. But then they looked at the people in Egypt and in the West or China and all, and they're building. I mean, they built the Great Wall of China, So the ET looked at these folks over here, North America, and went, okay. And then they looked over here at these guys and went, we got to, these folks now we got to mess with. But so some of the I've heard stories from different peoples because I've asked about this, and they go, no, there were really strange, weird beings that would like become tribe members or something, or they had their own tribe and they claimed to be like Cherokee, but they weren't. And they, and none of the natives would, other folks around them would like, they wouldn't even associate with them. Hey, Steve, how are you? So, Mel, okay, I'll have to look it up. But no, I don't know about it. I'm stupid about that one. And I've met a lot of people with families from the Trail of Tears and Seminole Indians and folks down here and where they used to hide and so forth. But anyway, so nope, don't know about that. Thank you, though. But I want to stick with the herbalism thing instead of them eating each other. But so some of these things that are medicinal, how are they medicinal? Well, they treated ringworm on the scalp. What? Oh, well, that's like the main purpose of this Yeah, but it's a medicinal plant. Yeah, okay. So if you think about ringworm, then maybe there's something on the body or something. So you would use it externally, not internally. Oh, but it's a medicinal plant, So people will stand up for this. Now, for example, pokeweed. It makes these really bright purple berries, and actually both of my uh, medicinal guys, but the one, my friend Dale Betcher, he said the one or two of these berries, and you crush them in your mouth on your tongue to the top of your mouth, and just let the juice kind of slide out and roll it around. Then you spit it out. You don't take the seeds. And I haven't had any purple berries this time. Wooden ships on the water, very free and easy. Purple berries. Anyway, it's a really good. It was used for dyes and paints and stuff too. The berries, but so for someone that has a heart condition as a stimulant, one or two of these berries every other day is like good for you. But if you eat three and you eat them and not spit out the seeds, then you could very much run the risk of eating too much and poison yourself. So if you ate, so anytime I ever saw any pokeweeds, and now you've heard the song about poke salad Annie from way back in the day, and the reason that when the fresh leaves of the pokeweed would come up, they'd pick them and boil them up because they're high in vitamin C. And people in the winter times, especially down, well, all over the place, but didn't have enough vitamin C, so they were suffering from scurvy. And so, poke salad was like the bomb in the springtime because they knew they could use it to help get them over the winter doldrums and get them ready for the spring and summer. But anyway, so but if you read the information on poke, the berries, they're poisonous. Well, yeah, they are, but you can, like I said, so my herbalist friend was like, he was taught by someone and his information went back and there was Native American connections. So, yes, poke berries are poisonous, but not just one. And if you spit out the seeds, which there are a lot of these things in certain berries and stuff, the seeds are what's toxic, not the berry itself. And for example, I think there's cyanide in apple seeds or something. So, and I used to eat the whole apple and the seeds and all, and somebody said, please don't do that. But to the point though, so the fruit is good, but not necessarily, you don't eat the seed. And there are some things that, like cherry trees and stuff, it's the inner bark and you scrape it. And so, and they suggest that you boil it, boil it. And the certain things that, like, if for mullein I was reading that, if you can't smoke it, you've got asthma or breathing problems or lung issues or cold, you want to use it as an expectorant, for example, and cough up phlegm, then you would take the leaf and some tea and kind of breathe it in. So, and you could drink the tea too, but in order to help with the lungs, that you would steep the leaves in, bring it to a boil and then drop it and then put your head down over with a towel and breathe in the vapors from the mullein. And there are other different plants and so forth like that. Now on the mulberry one, because I want to bring this back up, the mulberry one isn't, as long as to stock, isn't the red leaves are okay on poke. Red leaves? It's usually the leaves first in the summer that first come up. It's the fresh leaves. That's what I was told. And maybe it was something else. But to my point, though, there are lots of things that you don't eat the seeds, okay? For whatever reason, you don't eat the seed. And there are some things the fruit's okay, but you want the seed. But anyway, I'll have to check on that, Michelle. That was something somebody learned me a long time ago. And I've just it's just been in the back of my mind. Uh, don't eat the seeds. It's just not necessary. But although, like pumpkin seeds and things like that, it's like, well, okay, when you eat squash, the squash seeds are in the squash most of the time. So not everything is bad with the seeds. But to my point, though, so what is okay of the poke berries, limited, I might add, is no more than 3 every other day or so, as a blood stimulant. Okay, so and he said he's got folks that had issues with their blood pressure, and he gave them this, and the last time they went, and so there were people that he knew that had tried these, and my friend Dale was always. It's always better to take a little than it is to overdo it, because then you will compound the issues that you have, and you will have symptoms that you won't be able to identify. So for anything that's wrong with you, don't go to the store and buy 10 different things when just one of those things might be the answer, like for me and that mullein oil and my kidney issues and bladder. So but I don't take mullein juice all the time. But if it came and my kidneys were acting up, the mandragora. No, actually. Are you in the United States or in Europe? Because there are some of these plants that are not in the United States. I just want to state that. So there are roots and potions and stuff out there that do not grow in the United States. Uh, mm, Mandragora. I'm in the M section right here. See, marjoram, for example, it's an herb you use in the there's mandrake, mallow, maidenhair, and you want to know about mandragora, madder, and even magnolia. You're in Canada. It's not in this book, and it's got a lot of stuff in it. Let me just say, we've got mandrake, marjoram, nope. Mandrake is the closest I can get, and the rootstock is what is the on that. I'm gonna look at my other book here. Yeah, it is good for the kidneys. The tea, it's really good for the kidneys. I mean, I was going to a pea doctor, a urologist, and you know, hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, after all the tests and everything run, and they wanted to run more and do this. So I decided before I spent all these thousands of dollars in hospital bills, I went and got, and you know what? Just hold that thought for a minute. I want to get a drink and I want to get my little bottle of Love Potion number 9. But anyway, hold that thought. There's the bottle of stuff. I'll show it to you. I'm going to get a drink. So this company here, this is what I took. There's not any left in here. I don't think. I think I used it all. It's got a nice little smell to it. It's alcohol-free fluid extract. It's mullein leaf. It says promotes healthy mucous membranes. I'm reading this. I'm trying to see the name of the company. Holistically balanced. I can't read the name on this, but this is what it looks like. There's the jar and instructions on the back, kind of thing. Well, it says for mucous membranes, and I had read and had heard about the and I just put a couple of this on my tongues, but it's from this extract is made from the leaves. I've smoked it. I've made tea from it. The old timers, if you got cut in the woods or something, and you know was not doing well, or maybe you got into some poison ivy, they would literally, and the leaves could be really big, white. They to me they resemble in a way like a tobacco plant. But if you've never been around a tobacco plant, then but big broad leaves and hairy and fuzzy. To me, it's a beautiful plant. And then get 5, 6 foot tall. The plant might get 4 foot tall, but then it'll send a spike of flowers on it. And, the flowers are good. Considering everything else on the plant is good, I've not seen anything about the root. But the leaves, that you could literally wrap a leaf around you, and that would help from promote some kind of skin not promote it, but help to heal any kind of skin rash or poison ivy. I mean, or a cut or a scrape or whatever. Well, I'm stopping mulling about mullein. Yeah, it's a beautiful plant. It really is, and it's a biennial, so it'll last for 2 years, kind of thing. Or it comes back every 2 years or every other year. Anyway, but so, and it was growing naturally in my garden, but this year none has come up. So whatever has happened, maybe the last ones that come up didn't seed. I'm not sure, but I don't have any mullein this year. And where last year too, I've had 2 or 3 plants of it. So anyway, but something's happened to my garden. Just some things just ain't growing, and I don't know what it is. I've not over fertilized. I've never used poisons on my ground. There's just something weird going on these last few years. But anyway, then I've spent a lot of time and money in my gardens. Let me tell you, I've got raised beds. I use chicken manure. I mean, and natural organic types of. But anyway, for whatever reason, the last couple of years, things just don't want to grow in my garden areas. So, but anyway, that's why I'm still working on my greenhouse thingy in the front porch. But what was I going to say about mullein? Yeah, you could overdo it with anything. Hey, Mossy Man, tea from the leaves of mullein, mostly from the leaves. You can do it did for me. Now I used this was mullein in an oil. It was really thick. Yeah, I've got a lemon tree that won't bloom either, Mel, and also an lemon. I can't remember what the other one is. So anyway, we don't have as many bees as we used to. And a lot of things are pollinated by bees. And so if there is no pollination, then there ain't going to be fruit. There's not going to be this. There's not going to be that. So, we just have to do what we do, and take what we get. But sometimes there are phosphates that you can use, and or I know that people who have pecan trees, and I worked for these folks, and I would go around to the outside edge of the trees, to the tree line, and I would dig these holes about yay deep and put certain kinds of mixtures in that would help feed the trees. And so there are things like that you can do. But I'm at the moment, I can't think of the particular one. It also has to do with I'm going to say root stock, but I don't mean root as in a plant, but root stock as far as your earth is concerned. And so, potting soil or whatever, where did it come from, and how did they make that potting soil? I'm just saying, so I've gotten dirt from different places over the years, down the road, a farmer's field, in a ditch, and have used dirts from different places other than here on my own property. And I've used dirt from different parts of my property as well, because there's some really rich loam. So all of these affect how your plant grows. I've got plants here in the house that I haven't put fertilizer in years, and they're doing great. But I use my own well water, which is natural water with minerals and stuff in it. But I haven't used any fertilizer in anything here in my house plants in years, and they actually need watered. But so check with things. There's a lot of stuff that can affect your plants, how they grow, the amount of sun they need. Some plants need full sun, some plants don't like full sun. And the full sun these days is more blue than yellow. So we don't have the same color sun either. So these things need to be taken into consideration. But if Jody, if you're still out there, for any of you, okay, get you a good book with really good color pictures, and go walking, or like I do. Well, now I got Duggar, but I ride the dirt roads really slow, like 10 miles an hour, and just putts. Look out the window and look out the window, and sometimes I'll see something, I'll stop and pull over and literally climb in the ditch to look for some of these plants and things. So some of them I've noticed have come up on their own here on my property, and other things I'm going to have to go look for. One of them, that I've been talking about has been sassafras trees that showed up on my property up on the driveway. And I don't know how they got here because the sassafras usually goes by the root. I'm going to have to check on the berry thing. Berry. I think I said, hey, Katniss, where was that madrigal something? I was looking that up. I was looking and I forgot. I got off on a tangent. Now, you also have to understand that some of these plants have 6 or 7 different names to them. Okay. So it may be, nope, I don't see that mandragora thing in this one either. We've got mulberry, mugwort, mountain laurel, motherwort, mountain ash, American European, mother of thyme, see creeping thyme, marsh marigold, marijuana, mayapple, mayflower, maypop, mayweed. I'm just skipping around. Moccasin flower, see pink lady slipper. So some of these things, depending on where you are, will have different names for the same thing. Pokeweed. I want to look that up, page 56, just because I was talking about it. American Indians use, this is pokeweed, okay? It could have been mandrake. But that's for anybody, and I'm not being snide about this. I'm serious. Go look. And now's the time. Now there are a lot of, also, if you're looking for a particular, if something catches your eye, see if you can look it up. So I always take my edible plant, because If it's not medicinal, it might be edible. Just saying. Uh, Pokeweed. American Indians use berry tea for rheumatism, arthritis, dysentery. Berries poulticed onto sore breasts. Root poulticed for rheumatism and neurological pains and bruises. Washed used for sprains and swellings. Leaf preparations once used as an expectorant, an emetic, poultice for bleeding, pimples, blackheads, and the folk uses were similar. Warning, all parts are poisonous. Though leaves are eaten as a spring green after cooking through 2 changes of water, do not confuse with American white hellebore, which is highly toxic. Plant juice of pokeweed can cause dermatitis and even damage chromosomes. Now that's pokeweed, and it's got these really pretty purple flowers. That I'm sorry. What color are the? Anyway, purple berries. Yeah, I use the herbs that my brother used to grow as weed. My lemon tree is really healthy, but it won't bloom. Yeah, there could be. Look into blooming of trees and things, Mel. Honestly, mandragora. I bet you is mandrake. Because mandrake. I've looked at mandrake, and one could say it's similar to ginger. It's mandrake. Yeah, see, the mandragora is now I've looked up mandrake, but it doesn't give mandragora as one of its associative names. Wait, I had it here just a second. $46. Whoops. Now, here's something interesting. Its genuses is mandragoa. I see. Mayapple or the American mandrake. Now, mayapples have got these little strange leaves and so forth. It's a perennial with 12 to 18-inch leaves, where found in woods and clearings, southern Maine to Florida, Texas to Minnesota. Warnings: tiny amounts of roots or leaves are poisonous. Powdered root and resin can cause skin and eye problems. Native American use and early settlers use roots as a strong purgative, okay, liver cleanser, emetic, worm expellent. In other words, if you got tapeworm or something, or any kind of, for jaundice, constipation, hepatitis, fevers, and syphilis. Resin from the root is highly allergenic, used to treat venereal warts. The fruits are edible. I did not know that. Etoposide, a semi-synthetic derivative of this plant, is FDA approved for testicular and small cell lung cancers. And that's American mandrake. Look under it. This particular Peterson's says to look under mayapple. And, you know, there are different types of names for it. So Mandragora, you might not be able to find because it's in America, it could be mandrake or mayapple. So, you know, it's like folks around here call it mullein, where other folks call it mullein, as that's how it's spelled. But, you know, Southerners have a tendency to, you know, butcher names in general. But so, find someone who is doing classes, or find someone, if they say there's going to be an herbalist at a powwow or something. You know, it's summertime and things are opening up more. You know, on powwow.com and certain places, you know, if there's a powwow in your neighborhood, man, we missed the 20 mark. So I'm going to smoke because I got it and I want to, and it's been a while, and I've been a good boy today. So up in Canada, it's just really getting to be springtime. So a lot of this stuff ain't even up yet. But you may just be a little bit too far north for this particular plant. Or it may just, you know, you have to literally go to out in the country to an old field or something. Some of these things, some of these medicinals flower in the springtime. Many of them don't flower because they're more of a weed. They don't flower until the fall. So you can go out and look for the plant, but like if you're looking for flowers on mullein, it ain't going to be in the spring because it's going to be growing up and up and up and up, and then it grows the spike with the flowers. So you're going to see the flowers more towards the end of July and August, and maybe even later. But it also depends on where you are, because when I was in Arkansas last time in June, these things were already way up and tall, and I'm like, oh my God. And there was like 20 of them in this small little area. And I was looking out the window going, my God, this stuff is growing everywhere here. And I can barely find it down here. So it's like, and then when I got it to grow and I had some seeds and they came up, and oh man, I had my own, but I still have some bagged up. And so here's the trick about medicinals. All right. If it's dried correctly, then it will still have residual oils in the leaves or the root or something like that. Now, dried means naturally. It doesn't mean stuck in the oven. It doesn't mean anything. It means to dry it naturally, like in the sun for a couple hours or something. None of it, because as soon as you heat it with another kind of source, then it changes properties of things. So any kind of medicinal that you have, if you can eat it raw, do so, because that's where the power is going to be. So whatever the tree is, the fresh leaves at the top are going to be more powerful than the darker leaves and stuff on the bottom. Some pink island, huh? So anyway, if you're looking for flowers of a particular herb, it may be that it's right now is too early in the season, but that doesn't mean that you can't look for its habitat, marshy areas, if it says that. So you look for a place, for example, cattails. Now I think most people know what a cattail is, right? It looks at the end of the season, it's got this thing at the top that looks like a corn dog, right? And it grows in ditches and lower places and stuff like that. Well, old timers used to make that and take that and sort of pound it into a type of flour. They also used arrow arrowroot, which is, you can still get arrowroot as a starch and as an edible. It's in one of the Boy Scout. It's in my Boy Scout book. And if you had enough cattails and were cold, they used the tops of the fluffy parts of the cattails for insulation in their clothing way back when they didn't have other stuff to put in. So there's cattails that grow along this, and I mean they grow up, all over the place, maybe not out west, but here, from, I would say, I have been to Kansas, but not through Kansas. I've been through Oklahoma. So I would say that most of Oklahoma and probably parts of Texas or whatever, but Arizona and out in there, New Mexico, I don't know if there'd be any cattails, is my point about this. So, but there's a lot of places for cattails and the arrowweed, and the leaves look like arrows, so you check these things out. But the fresher near the top of the plant is always the best, as far as if you're going to eat it or make a tea. Make sure, though, before you go eating something, that you should cook it first, like the pokeweed, 2 washings. Now, I always do 1 washing when I'm doing collard greens. Always, some vinegar and some salt and all that, and bring them to a boil good and let them sit, and then pour that water off. And then put more water in, and then that would be the second. But now for pokeweed, they say do that a third time. I mean, do 2 washings. Does that mean 2 washings, pour it out, and then cook it on the third? Anyway, I'll check that out. But to the point, though, they want you to boil at least twice and change the water at least once. So, are you doing that? Or are you eating the leaves or whatever? So, and some of the other books that I've read about pokeweed, it says nothing about a blood purifier kind of thing. But the folks who know folks and old timers who taught these young timers, like I'm trying to teach some things now, like, the old pharmacist would tell people, you got some ammonia? Yeah. They would take a teaspoon of ammonia in a just a glass of water, and drink it down for a headache. And I have tried it, just go over and open up the jug of ammonia and just take a couple of sniffs. You don't stick your nose down in the jug now, but just run your, let them vapors get in your head, and you'd be surprised at how much it'll clear up your sinuses. And it's a natural thing. I mean, like I've said before, that smelling salts is ammonia in these little popper things. So anyway, there are things like turpentine. There's things like pine tar. There's pine saps. Well, let me get this one. I think I was reading about pines in general, that pine trees were good in and of themselves. But anyway, does anybody have any particular herb they'd like to know about that I can look up? I'm not a weed expert, but it's really strong. And I forgot what I was talking about. Even cucumbers have a value. Oh, ammonia. Well, see, ammonia is a chemical. It's not an herb. So agave's in here. Acacia. Adder's tongue. Hepatica. Henna. Henbane. Hedge garlic. Hedge bindweed. Hedge hyssop. Indian tobacco is in here. Yes, actually. Now, in this book also, I just noticed in part 3, why I've never gotten to this part, herbal mixtures and formulas for health. So for anemia, aphrodisiac tea, an aphrodisiac bath, for your appetite, for arteriosclerosis, arthritis tea, asthma, arthritis liniment, asthma for relief of attack, boils, carbuncles, bronchitis, blood cleansers, bronchial baths, blood builders. Uh, yeah, so, and let me just, so for blood cleansers, here's dandelion root, 1 part, young nettle leaves, 1 part, elder shoots, I would assume that that's elderberry shoots, and primrose flowers and leaves. So it's 1 part, 1 part, 2 parts, 2 parts. Uh, these mixtures are composed of herbs that interact to eliminate toxins and metabolic end products such as uric acids. So there's one in here for burdock, black elder leaves, nettle, and pansy. Another one is blackberry leaves, nettle leaves, black elder leaves, and dandelion root. Here's one with wormwood, milfoil, white birch, European century, peppermint leaves, and pansy. So several of these have dandelion. Several of them have black elder. So depending on where you were, this one's got dandelion root and leaves, German chamomile flowers, and American senna leaves. Here's one, witchgrass, ground ivy, nettle, and elder leaves. So, and this is all for the same thing. Blood sugar is, Therese is still in the house. It says flaxseed powder, althea root, oat powder, echinacea powder. Use the powder mixture to make a poultice for treatment. Oh, that's for carbuncles. Wait. Blood sugar. Bean pods, fumitory, eucalyptus leaves. Now that's a different one. Dyer's broom, birch leaves, milk thistle, bilberry leaves. Now another one is bean pods, nettle leaves, birch leaves, and bilberry leaves. 1 teaspoon of this dried concoction. It's 1 part, 1 part, 2 parts, and 6 parts. And you take half a cup 3 times a day. So you take 1 teaspoon in a half a cup of boiling hot water. So carbuncles, what's that? Oh man, you don't want them. You know what a boil is? I had them as kids, and they're like really big sores. They're nasty. Like a pimple that has gone crazy. Here's chest and lung problems. Mullein flowers are right in here with chest and lung. Lungwort, speedwell, and lance leaf plantain. And There are a lot of plantains around, and some of these are really small plants, but most plantains have a medicinal. Uh, do you? How about it? To grow your own coffee? No, because it won't grow here. Trust me, if coffee could grow here, we'd be growing it. You hear me? Same thing with teas. Certain plants, certain things, it's the climate. It's where it is. It's not, well, it's in the ground, yeah, but climate has everything to do with it. So, cold compresses, colds, colic, laxatives, coughs, laxative teas, coughs. There was a lot of coughing going on back there. They were saying that there's whooping coughes back in areas. Well, there's lots of things that the old timers used to give, and there's like 10 different varieties of things. Here's one with licorice, mother of thyme, sundew leaves, and lance leaf plantain. Licorice root. Okay. Oh, that's what I wanted to look up. Sassafras. But I did not realize that it had this little area in this book. But it's got gallstones, gout, rheumatism, hallucinogens, hoarseness, liniments, liver problems, kidney problems. Kidney problems, rhubarb, rest tower, and sticklewort. Another one is shepherd's purse and shave grass. Another one is bearberry leaves, witchgrass, buchu, button snake root, pipsissewa herb, juniper berries, celery seed, and lovage root. Now, here's the thing. If you got only 3 or 4 of these things and you don't have them all, you're better off to take these ingredients, even though you might be missing 1 or 2, because they will see. I'm interested, and I don't see anything in here with kidney problems that shows anything about mullein. But anyway, so if you read through some of the grinding, yeah, a mortar and pestle is really useful, and that's the favorite. And even a wooden mortar pestle is ginding, or do you mean grinding, Jody? It keeps coming up. Ginding, ginseng, sassafras. Now, for the Cajun, sassafras is used in. They call it filet. Yeah, ginseng. Yes. In fact, where I'm going, where my niece Mary lives up in Tennessee and up in there, they call it sangin. There's ginseng up in them there hills, and they know how to do it. It's like people who don't know how to pick mushrooms correctly in a field will pull the whole thing up, and you don't do that. And so folks who go ginsenging and that kind of thing, they don't know how to do it because they'll pull the whole thing up when you only take part of it. But anyway, there it is, sarsaparilla and sassafras, 401. Wow, really close to the back here. Hang on. Oh, it's not the page number, it's the herb number. Sassafras, and this is what I found. Um, an agu tree, a cinnamon wood, and that's the different. Medicinal part is the bark. And see, and I'd heard it was the root. Um, native to North America, Ontario to Michigan, down to Florida and Texas. It's used as an anodyne, antiseptic, a diaphoretic, diuretic, and a stimulant. A hot infusion of sassafras bark makes a good blood purifier, promoting perspiration and urination. It is therefore been recommended for rheumatism, gout, arthritis, and skin problems. For the latter, as for various ulcers, combined internal and external use is recommended. The bark of the roots, okay, contains a volatile oil that has anodyne and antiseptic properties. It has been said it's been used in the past as a pain reliever and also to treat venereal disease. American Indians used an infusion of sassafras roots to bring down a fever. Uh, Sassafras tea has also had its day as a popular tonic and a drink. Now, sarsaparilla is different than sassafras, but if you smell a sassafras root, it smells like root beer. Yeah, red clover is really good. Uh, Sarsaparilla is the medicinal part is the root stock. It's a tropical plant, um, and it's used as a carminative, diuretic, a tonic. Sarsaparilla root is said to be good for gout, rheumatism, colds, fevers, and catarrhal problems. I'll have to look that one up, as well as for relieving flatulence. A tea made from it has been used externally for skin problems, scrofula, ringworm, and tetters. Sarsaparilla would be classified generally as a blood purifier. It was once commonly taken as a spring tonic. So 1 teaspoon of rootstock and 1 cup of water. Take 1 to 2 cups a day. Tincture is a dose is from 30 to 60 drops. Yes, honey's good as well. But see, one of the antiseptics that I learned about again uh, is that vinegar. I've been using vinegar. Um, anyway, I have a spray bottle of vinegar in my truck instead of hand gel for cleaning my hands as an antiseptic. And the vinegar has been working really well in my toilet to clean up issues and stuff. But for example, us folks down here in the South, um, there's saw palmetto, and its uses is a diuretic, an expectorant, a tonic. Saw palmetto berries are particularly useful for conditions associated with colds, asthma, and bronchitis. Now we have saw palmetto down here all the time, and there are some palm trees. Some of them call them date palms, but they'll have this orange kind of looking fruit on it. I think that's what they're talking about. But down here in the swamps, there's a lot of palmetto bushes, and so where you would not ever see a palmetto bush up in the mountains, we would not see mountain laurels down here in the South. I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but some things grow in certain areas and some things don't. So, but anyway, this is just touching base with certain things. There are books and diagrams and things. There are Native American cures and things. I would still, regardless of who tells you what it is, now I can tell you that some of these things work because I've used them, okay? But I would still say to you, if you know, Barry, if you were looking at the Mullen, there's other things you can do. Hey, Free Flow. Yeah, I love bees too. And the medicine they produce. Be careful though. There are some honeys that are being sold as it's actually a syrup and not the honey. Be careful. Read the label. It'll say honey syrup and syrup in smaller letters. I've been in shock since ayahuasca, and I'm sorry about that. You know, they should have never just left you in a in a lurch like that. There are people who've asked me, and I have helped people to do mushroom trips, okay? And um, uh, uh, whether I'm a shaman or not, I have helped people with these things, and I've told them, look, you want to have it, you want to have a trip, I'll be the straight one, you know. And I've been the straight guy many times. And I've tripped enough times where somebody says, I see a blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. I don't have to be stoned like them. I can kind of sort of connect with their, their psyche, if you will, and go, I may not be able to see what they're seeing, but I can share in the experience of what they're doing. So, when we were talking about Andromeda 7 tonight, um, somebody wants to be spiritual. There's a lot of ways to be spiritual without taking any kind of hallucinogen. And hallucinogens have messed up some people beyond repair because they couldn't handle it. They heard about it, wanted to try it. It's a spiritual experience. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But there's a lot more to it than just that. Well, I just took it to get high. Well, okay, then you weren't looking for nothing. But it can still affect you and change your attitude on life. I've tripped over it 500 times, and I'm not lying, and I ain't bragging, because I've counted it up, and there were weeks and months I didn't come down. I used to take LSD every day. But anyway, externally, it's the proven shamanic psychedelic but this is unreal and I can't get anyone to help me. I'm sorry, Free Flow. I mean it. Free Flow, let me tell you something, and the spirits are talking to me about this. Fasting can cause depression. Listen to me. Fasting can cause depression. And then if you don't feel like eating because you're depressed, then that makes it worse. Back in the day, some of these things were called consumption. People would get depressed over lots of things, loss of a loved one, or just, I think it was Mary Lincoln that suffered with stuff, but anyway, to the point of this, though, if you're fasting and you're depressed, those are not good, okay? If you're depressed, you need to find something that's healthy to eat. Get some fruit, pineapple. Here's something. I'm not trying to plug it, but it's dried pineapple. Comes in these bags. I've showed it before. There's dried apricots and dried cherries and all this. So if I can't get a fresh pineapple, and well, I can eat, pineapple in a can. But this is so convenient, and it's pineapple. So my fasting consists of nothing heavy, but I'm eating these fruits, different types of fruits, maybe a couple of crackers here and there, salt. I don't have saltines, uh, but anyway, you may do saltines or some kind of cracker or something. But if you're more depressed and anxiety, fasting can make it worse. Okay. I love you. I've never met you. I still love you. And the spirits are hollering at me right now to tell you to stop fasting for a while and eat some different foods. If you're just eating vegetables, maybe you should throw in something. If you eat meat, sometimes we need the protein that fish or beef will give us, not necessarily chicken. And it needs to be red meat, a real protein. So I would suggest a cow, but lamb is good. I'm not too much of a fan of lamb. Pork, not so much. Um, but what one of my doctors would told me years ago is, he goes, son, you need to go eat a bloody steak. You need to go get yourself a steak that's like, if it ain't rare, it should be medium rare and still kind of gushing juice out the side, and eat it and enjoy it. Um, but Spirit's telling me right now that you need to quit the fasting until you get your depression under control. Don't make it worse. Okay, good luck. And I mean it. Good luck. I mean this with loving healing, free flow. Stop accepting it. Make up your mind and stop accepting it. And there are lots of different ways. I've talked about it before. And this isn't the kind of show to discuss that. But people who are doing this fasting and thing and stuff, and I don't know what exactly your high protein and all your super herbal drinks. I'm sorry, I don't trust that stuff for nothing. And folks are taking this stuff and they're having these things and everything, and I'm like, but it's super herbal. Are you sure it's in a thing? Well, it comes in a powder, and they say it is. I just good luck with your diet and not being depressed. And I mean it. I mean, honestly, good luck. Good luck. Good luck. Uh, they're they're telling me you need something else in your diet, and I don't know what it is. But just good luck. And I mean, honestly, I don't mean that in any kind of condescending way. Um, Folks who are having issues and are taking some of this stuff that's supposed to be good for them, my spirits tell me get off that crap and eat real food. For me, it's up to you what you do. But um, we are what we eat, and if depression and things and stuff bother us a lot, it may be what we're eating. So, Edgar Casey discussed it a lot in um, in many of his readings and so forth, where somebody simply changed their diet, or at times they needed to fast, but that it cured their ailments right up. And so um, I'm not being disrespectful to you, free flow. I'm not. Okay. I'm saying they're saying there's something you need in your diet. That's all. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not trying to say good or bad things about your diet. That's not my point. But if you're fasting all the time, that's not good. Um, it's not good for anybody. Periods of fasting, 1 or 2 days. Um, if you want to go on a really good one, but you should plan on it for a week. But there are people, well, I fast all the time and I do this and that. That's not necessarily good for you, especially if you're depressed. I know that from my own experience. So that we need certain enzymes and things in our bodies. And um, 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 even the vegetables that we get now do not have all of the vitamins and minerals that they used to have, because a lot of these places are, they only give three different um, um, minerals. There's three different minerals in or things in fertilizer. And, they had problems. Yeah, but they don't grow around here, Mel. I've tried that, and it's like, yeah, it was cool in the glass, but it didn't make me a pineapple. You know what I mean? It was pretty to look at. But what I'm saying is, though, for fruits and vegetables and things, there's lots of different ways. Now, there are days that I eat lightly, but I can also tell that on that third day, I got to have me some food back in me. I got to make a stew, get some pasta. I got to have me something. So, but I've learned to eat light over my years. But the idea of fasting, though, it drains your body, and it's good up to a point. But just like anything else, you can overdo well, I'm meditating and fasting. And I mean this humbly. Y'all be careful with that. Well, I've got my intent is this, okie dokie. But that don't mean your body, its intent is different than what your mind is. Well, I can control my body. Then, well, how come you feel bad and you're depressed or. So folks won't take a step back from whatever it is they're doing and look at the situation. Well, I'm doing all this. I'm right. I got all this stuff and I'm okie dokie. All right. Okay. Sometimes we have to step back and go, is this really what my body needs? Or is this what have I convinced myself that this is what I need? If I convinced myself that I need to smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, so I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anyone. Everybody's got their own thing. I know. But if there are chronic issues that continue to show up, one must look at their current behavior, period, whatever it is you're doing. And because that's the answer, you know. A lot of people out there depressed, a lot of people, I got depressed earlier. I mean, I'm not invulnerable to this, but I refused to be there. I saw it, recognized it, and said, it ain't coming my way, go away, y'all, and change the subject. So free flow, my child just died. I understand that, honey. We all have been praying for you. I swear, there's many times during the day I send you prayers that I just don't talk about, because I know there are folks out that are hurting, and I'm not trying to be ugly to you, honestly. And I'm trying to do this with as much respect as possible. But sometimes we get so caught up in our grief and things. I've lost a very dear friend of mine here. Didn't get a chance to say goodbye. Nobody called me to tell me she was dead. All I could do was suppose. And, I talked about it in my last video for several hours at the end. In that, I miss my friend Marceau. We did all kinds of crazy shit together. And we, go to the beach in the middle of the night just to go walk in the water for 30 minutes in the ocean. Just crazy stuff. Crazier than that, but I mean, to a lot of people, they say, you did what? Yeah, well, we didn't have anything else to do, so we rode in the middle of the night. Yeah, it was pretty. The ocean was great at night. But anyway, but in all, if something continues to bother us, And the death of your child, I'm healing. I don't need anything but hurt and, but okay. All right. Honey, if you're doing that, I honestly, I wish you luck in that, because having traumatic experiences are a pain in the neck and the ass and in the side and in the elbow. And I've not, I have lost a child in a way, but having lost family members and close in people, I have suffered that trauma. Not like a child. Okay, you got me on that one. But in dealing with the trauma and that goes with it. And, as sort of the old Jewish tradition is, sometimes you just need some good old chicken soup, some chicken noodle soup or something, you need a homemade, and somebody else needs to make it, and you need a comfort food or something. But anyway, just saying, not for you, but in general. So, aromatherapy, I want to heal others, heal addictions. That was all. I guess only a woman would. Okay, free flow. Oh, that's horrible. Native woman, murdered woman, my cousin. I know people that I knew from the Rosebud Plantation and up there in South Dakota, and some folks up there in Minnesota, and they had some children missing. And I knew those children. They came to my puppet shows. Uh, one was a jingle dancer. I mean no disrespect, free flow. I honestly don't. I honestly don't. And I'm praying that whatever it is that is want to start on my. Yep, they do. And we've talked about, hey, Isby, we've talked about addictions here many times. And, only you can, if you feel you're in the wrong place, sorry about that. Because right here, we all support each other. Many of us have had addictions, and we're all here to heal each other, free flow. So, if you feel you're in the wrong place, we still send blessings, you know. I've had many addictions. Many people here have been dealing with addictions, and I'm on board with that. I'm here to help people with addictions as well. So I'm sorry that you feel that way. You're feeling hope and joy. Good, Isby. So this wasn't supposed to turn into a downer thing here at the end of this. I'm fixing to get off of here at the 20 mark. And but I wanted to bring to you that there are aromatherapies that can help out with things, which is very um, very beneficial to the soul. I was burning sage earlier. Um, it was the cards, um, but so everybody's going through their own trauma. I'm still dealing with the trauma of losing my friend and what that means to me. And we have been each other's backup plans for years. And, that isn't, that's just bad, Mel. Really, that's really bad. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, we all pray that her heart feels better, honestly. And the trauma and the things, and we cannot feel what she does. All we can do is empathize the best way that we can and send out our heart love and hope that she heals. And I honestly mean that. So, a long time ago, well, still, regardless of when it happens, it still happens. We still have those memories, but Mel, we still send out prayers. Tragic events and things that happen in their lives and that have happened, maybe not to us, but a dear friend of mine. And when I lived in Tampa, there was a lot of that stuff in St. Pete and, and around and Plant City. And well, that's one reason why I moved out of Tampa and Florida in general. Not that all of Florida has a lot of crime. We've got crime up here too, but not like the folks do in cities and stuff. It is not the same. But those are the choices we make. Um, and I'm glad I made the choice I did so many years ago. No, Isby, I don't. Me and the dog barely fit in one. They're single person kayaks. I got a canoe that'll fit 3 or 4 people, depending on how big they are. Nope, I saw no reason to get a 2 person kayak, Isby, because there was only me. But anyway, so listen, it's almost the 20 mark. I'm gonna do a bowl with you, and then I'm shutting off for here for tonight. I didn't mean to upset Free Flow, and I think I did. That was not my intention. I want her to heal, so I will continue to send out healing messages. Regardless, or irregardless. I always got that. Hey, Max, how'd your class go? Did it go well? Yeah, it's 1:12 here, Eastern Daylight Time. But to go back into the herbs, with anything that we take, and I've taken a lot of pharmaceuticals over my years, whatever we take, the combination will mess us up. And we have to be careful. And just because a doctor prescribed it to us, I've got right now I have 3 kayaks and a canoe. I've got 2 other kayaks I can get. We just watched Fells. This guy was a student that had been rejected by a teacher. Man, that's just nuts. Good. I'm glad your show was awesome. Absolutely. I was tempted to get off here and go join yours. But anyway, but this thing about medicinals, there's a lot of good stuff out there, a lot of good plants, but read and become immersed in it. If there's a particular plant that you saw, it might be a medicinal plant, but it might not necessarily be good for anything that ails you. Okay, I'm just saying. So just because it's a medicinal plant, and the other side of the coin is, do you know how to make it medicinal? Do you know how to boil it down? Do you know how to, you know? So before you just go saying, oh, but it's natural, it's an herb, and I'm taking it because they said that's not the right reason. It just isn't. And so, yes, become an herbalist yourself. Yes, because all the old timers, all the old folks that I knew around here when I first moved to Georgia, they all knew some kind of potion or something that you could make with this plant and that plant and this one. And um, there was even supposed to be magic words back in the day where somebody was bleeding, you could call this person up and she would speak these words. And there, too many people around Colquitt County swear by this, and that this woman would just speak words, and the bleeding would stop. Or, there was something else about something else anyway, but they would call, and it was always a woman, and it was always passed down from the grandmother to a grandchild. Sometimes it was to the daughter, but. But so anyway, learn about the herbs. Even if you buy them from a reputable place, learn about the herbs before you just start taking them in some. I The word willy nilly comes to mind, because some folks are really just not paying attention and they're just taking stuff. And it's like, okay, all right. But you should read up about it. You should not take it all the time. You should, there are certain things you should pay attention to. And there are too many times that they explain what it could be good for or what it's been used for, but they don't give you a long time history. A couple of the passages I read were like, don't take this over a long period, or if you take it for a long period, I can't remember what it was, but anyway, go back in the video. But that what will happen is that it may help to cure something else, but it will give you urinary and bladder conditions. So, be careful. So there are side effects to things. And sometimes in all these books will tell you what all those side effects are. So, I love mullein and so forth, but I'm not taking it all the time. I don't drink a tea all the time, but I know I have some. I know if I need it. So that's what's more important. So our intention with what we eat is definitely important. We used to always say grace at supper, the Catholic version, but it's never wrong to say thank you to the universe in a simple prayer that just says, thank you, universe, for this of which I am about to receive and eat. May it fill my body with goodness and, what I need. So, our intentions are good, but then there's the downright chemistry of things. And I've met many people with very strong beliefs, but some of these shaman and medicine people that I have met would still submit that they can't cure everything. They can help, but curing is so many different levels of it. Do I believe in mind control? Because this crazy guy shoots himself. Yeah, of course I believe in mind control. I also believe in the Hukots, which are human beings with a strange alien DNA that's been passed down, and that some of these folks get triggered and do really crazy shit. So there are things that happen in the world that I have to stop and think it could be one of them hoochats. Because they were fine, a little obnoxious or something, or maybe he was the quiet guy and nobody, and then all of a sudden he pops. And they could pop because they were mind controlled to the point where it's sort of like the Manchurian Candidate. There's nothing, an MK Ultra victim. Yeah, but there are other levels to that, Max. I mean, having grew up in the Catholic Church, they did mind control. So otherwise I wouldn't have been pedophiled by the priest, because it was all about the priest or the guys, and they're the ones, and they're the Jesus, and they're the thingy, and then here they are wanting to diddle little boys. I mourn for them and their families. Yeah. Yeah, Mel. On the Dante channel, the cause, a couple of his recent videos were about iRobot. And in that, he talks about Buchats, who are alien made in a laboratory, look like humans kind of thing. And then there are Huchats, and that they are humans, but with a Flash or Mater hybrid or a combination, and that these folks, it's basically in their genetics. They could get a phone call, they could hear a word, and then there's no. Some of them do have a particular mission, if you will, but most of them are. Most of them are a type of hybrid in a way, and that when they get triggered for whatever reason, they just do weird, mean, and bad, and nasty shit, and don't care if they die. So some of this really nasty, abnormal behavior, I have to wonder if it's not because here's the thing. This is what brought me to this reality that it might actually be true. And it's 121. But yes, there is an energetic spiritual asset. It can be considered a hybrid or possessed. Max, it's even more than that. These folks really do have the essence of these hybrids in them, of these nasties. But anyway, most people don't believe what I do. But here's my point about this. I've seen certain things myself and scratched my head. And here's the thing. The things that we hear people do, they say it's so inhuman what that person did. No normal human being would do that. And I keep going back to that fact when I see that these things happen, and I go, a normal human being wouldn't do that. They can be activated from a distance. Yep, or a word or something like that. If you've never seen The Manchurian Candidate, which is an old movie, this guy was programmed. He didn't even know that he was going to do this. He got a phone call or something, and so he was the inside spy, and he didn't even know he was the spy. So it's sort of like hypnotism in a way, in that something's hidden deep in your conscious or subconscious. I'm sorry, in your subconscious, and it remembers it, but you don't know it consciously. And then when the hypnotist snaps their fingers and you wake up, you have no idea what just went on. So it's very much like that. It's not the same, but it is similar. Now, there are interdimensional beings that do the possession too, but there are actually Hukats. And now, whether y'all want to believe that or not, but I'm leaning more towards it than not. I'm just saying. So anytime I see anything that is truly appalling, that what one human would do to another, or more than one, or whatever, I hear these last 5 or 10 years, 5 years anyway, I just go, that person somehow was not human. There's something about that person that he may have looked like a human, may have talked like a human, but there's something else in there that would make them want to do that. And after finding out about the Hukats, I think to myself, well, now that kind of sort of would explain it, people who are Manchurian candidates and don't know it. And one of the things, and I'll pass this on for those of you who watch Dante and The Cause, is that one of the things that, quote, Armageddon and the apocalypse would be that there are so many of these type of hybrid peoples, and especially with certain races, more so in Central Europe and there, in Afghanistan and so forth. I don't want to say Islamic, but sort of. I don't mean the religion, but in the Islamic nations, there are these. And you know, why would they be so bloodthirsty? Why do they want to chop people's heads off? And I mean, it's, you know, that to me isn't a human nature kind of thing. There must be something going on other than that. But Dante says that if the bad guys get their way, they're going to trigger all of the who cats, and that we won't know who the good guy, bad guy is, because it could be our neighbor that's one of these folks that just all of a sudden turns on us. So we won't know who the enemy is. It'll be us. You know what I mean? Now we're all praying that that ain't going to happen. When I was young, I practiced hypnotism. A young man challenged me, was a video violent person. So I left a trigger word to put him to sleep. It came in handy years later. I bet you. And I've used self hypnosis to help me along the way too. And then I talked about it one night too, because really, how the hell wakes up one morning and do something like actual? That's exactly right, Mel. And that's why I have to consider that, you know, because whether or not I thought it was alien, I thought it was inhuman, at least. You know what I mean? And now there's evidence that there are these different essences in peoples, and you know that they could be triggered. Well, that just sucks. You know what I mean? But I've seen people get triggered. Back in the day, my anger, there are certain words would trigger me, and I realized that, you know, I really have to get that under control. I got to fix this. You know, I don't want to be an angry person or lash out. No. So, but anyway, there's more evidence that who cats actually do exist. Now, how many of them there are, that's a good question. But there's evidence of people that, here's one of the things that Dante showed was that, you know, on a video, like, I think it was Charles Barkley that was on this panel, and he just sits there for minutes. And there are different people at different things, and you got to scratch your head and go, what is up with these people? You know, so it has been suggested that these people might have this, who they might actually, unbeknownst to them now, okay, that they are who cats, and that they're sort of like a data in a way, in that they have been programmed, and you know, they're a biological robot in many ways, and sometimes their wiring gets haywire or gets crossed up, and they just stop for, you know, there are pictures of people who just stop in the middle of the road, and they just stand there and just, you know, I mean, it's really strange. There are a lot of folks that have been on TV shows, uh, um, and they just sit there and just go blank. And I've been on theater and TV and stuff like that, but I'm here to tell you there's something strange about that. So I would like to think that a lot of these people are aliens or demons, because I don't want them to be human. They're not. I agree. They're not human. That's why some of their actions seem inhumane to us, because they're not, Max. I mean, about 5 years ago, I came to this realization, not just as a shaman or a spiritualist or whatever, but that there was something else that was making this stuff be wrong. And I have encountered demons and, you know, some really nasty, uh, you know, interdimensional kind of beings in some of my ceremonies and things. And, you know, and trying to cleanse the woods of them and make a sacred place where, you know, those things wouldn't be. But what I found out is I can't make them stay away. I can ask them, though, kindly. And that works a whole lot better than demanding that they leave. I got me in trouble. There are groups of people with a depressed expression of chromosome that is the God gene. Yep. Yeah, they are not connected. They're not connected to something. You know what I mean, Max? So when Dante came out on his channel years ago and did the iRobot thing, it's republished for folks out there on the YouTube channel called The Cause. And I rewatched the episodes again last week, and I thought to myself, I've seen more evidence of this on my own since he published this years ago. But in my talking about, now see, in my subconscious, it was probably already there, and it really put this thing in my head that, so if there are these beings that just have like a family line or a trait, and it's passed down, it doesn't necessarily mean that they were directly implanted, although some of these folks have been, with an essence like a shot. So all these people that are getting these shots now, what's going to happen if they're all triggered? What if some of that essence of something wicked, bad, nasty is injected in these people that would turn them into who cats? I did a science fiction thingy show, I don't know, about a year or so ago, and a what if situation. And then I watched the movie Cell, or The Cell, I can't remember. But it's all about how all these people get triggered by their cell phones. And it's the cell phone, it's something else that is it, but it's the tone. And when everybody hears it, they all, go zonkers. So, the cabal has a nasty habit of showing us what's going to happen before it happens. So me and a lot of other folks have been stressed out about what cell phones are doing to people on a major basis. And whether they've had shots or not, these people just aren't acting themselves. Everything is glued to this little thing that they got in their hand. And it just amazes me, turn the thing off. Well, I wanted to check this. Let me show you. No, I don't want to see. Let's mean you have a conversation. Well, yeah, but I don't want to I don't want to look at your little box. So, in that, for me, I don't find it to be too far fetched with all the other television programs and things and messages that they blip in, Max, years old as I am, in that, you remember the day when you could actually see the little blurbs on the black and white television to buy Tide or something like that. And then they made it illegal to do that. Well, they still do that kind of stuff. So they flip images so quickly, your subconscious sees every single one where your memory doesn't. So you say, well, I'm not being programmed. Really? Are you sure about that? Well, but I haven't been to any MK Ultra. I haven't been anywhere. I haven't. Are you sure? You watched that movie, didn't you? Well, yeah. Well, there was flashing lights and blinky things. Are you sure that in that blinky blink stuff there wasn't a message they were trying to portray to you? Well, what do you mean? It was just a movie. Was it? Or is it? Are you sure about that? Because they've been using that kind of technique on people for years and years and years and years and years and years, ever since television came about. So the fact in this digital age, and with what they know and all the AI and everything, for people to not even consider that it could happen, or that they are somehow, that there are images that are being flashed at them. Well, I'm not being mind controlled. Okay, well then put your phone down. Well, and they won't do it, So I think they're already infected. You know what I mean, Max? Some people are more sensitive to the mind control. It depends on everybody. The same is the fourth kind, the actress. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's just not the movies themselves, although they always want to show us what it is. Like one of the aliens in one of the Alien or Predator movies actually looks like very similar to one of the entities in the Alien Races book that Dante and them put out, years ago. Been out it's going on 20 years now. This book's been out there. So, and look, but they're the good guys, but they look like these guys, So just because they might look like, a reptoid or something, you might want to ask before you shoot them. I'm just seriously, you might want to ask. Um, so, and it's also been said that Men in Black, that all two movies, Men in Black 2, yeah, there wasn't a third, was there? Anyway, at least the two Men in Black movies that I remember, that there were actual aliens in the movies. Uh, don't know which ones they are, but that there was supposedly at least three races of aliens that were actually present in that movie. Now pick them out. When they show that scene where they're coming and going and checking their bags and all that. Three of those three types of aliens in there were. Yep, that's who I'm talking about, Mel. Yep, Azazel. But there are things that he's shown me over the years, and I've seen myself or experienced, and then he'll bring it up on his channel, and I go, "Well, now ain't that some shit?" I wondered why that would be like that, and sort of like, why do people go crazy for no reason and kill or do whatever they do? Maybe it's because, in a way, sort of MK Ultra, but sort of like uh, the Manchurian Candidate. So, but that these people kind of sort of have the right DNA strain or have the right something, whatever the essence is, Dante calls it. So, the essence of these critters, and they don't even know they got it. They don't know. And then, ding, all of a sudden, whatever the trigger is, they go off on a tangent, and do these horrible things. Because at the end of whether or not you believe him or not, the actions that these folks do, they and then above themselves, the actions are not human. Normal humans don't do that. So that ought to just put a question mark in your head right there. The technologies they can release can drive you crazy. Absolutely. And my computer sits here on the desk on this little thingy that I've made here in the living room, but it is not open all the time. I've closed the lid a bunch. Where I used to leave it open, my computer upstairs, it stayed on. I mean, uh, but I realized that um, I can be affected by bright lights because that's how they test whether or not you can have a seizure or not. But the idea that Mel, you said, well, I think it was Mel, that more people are easily mind controlled. That's absolutely true. And I've seen some of my very smart friends get stupid because of their cell phone and just, get stupid. Now, not so much anymore. A lot of people have backed off Facebook. But I remember the day when I'd spend 5 or 6 hours on Facebook. Easy, 5 or 6 hours a day on Facebook. And then I just realized, oh my God, what are these people doing to me? The saving and do you like me or not? Add to that a possession and you got a powder keg. I absolutely, Max. Mel, there are some times I've watched some of them videos 2 or 3 times, or there'll be little snippets of something in several of his clips. And it is difficult to sometimes follow the train of thought. But as he says, all dots are connected. But anyway, I never saw the attraction of Facebook. I went through a period, maybe about a year or so, and now I'm supposed to go on Facebook and get in contact with some relatives and stuff because I'm going on vacation to Ohio with my sister. But that I don't want to get on Facebook. I just don't. I don't like the way it makes me feel when I'm on Facebook. the things that people are saying and repeating, and I've copy and pasted stuff. I'm guilty. But I realized that I was contributing to the AI, that AI, not, I don't necessarily, hi, Bob, we love you. We haven't said hi to Bob in a while. Well, thank you, Bob, for allowing my, stream to be pretty good this morning. But I saw what the AI was doing to us in that it was learning from our behaviors. So the more we posted, reposted, liked, disliked, left a comment or not, was adding to the knowledge of the base for AI to know humankind. Because what better way? But I noticed that people weren't actually, when they were on Facebook, they weren't actually, they sort of lost some of their human traits because of Facebook, because of the interface. So that in a way, people who spent, 5, 6, some people 8, 10 hours a day on Facebook, and I've known people like that, have known people like that. And my friend Martha was always checking her Facebook. I love her to death, but she was addicted to it, couldn't put it down, just, I love you. She's already passed, but, uh, that was one of the intelligent people that I was talking about that kind of lost it, they had to stay in touch and they had to be connected. And there was something that got to them that they just couldn't say no to Facebook. Now, it's been 2 weeks, I think, since I've been on Facebook, and it was months since I was on before. But the last time I was on, that old feeling of, oh my God, that people are still doing this. And it's like regularly, they're still doing this. And I'm like, oh, I know I come on here on YouTube and do videos and stuff, but, maybe it's because I get to just chat with y'all. But the stuff that people are putting out and like this, don't like this, and how many things, if 10 people don't forward this, I'll know that nobody loves me, And the last time I was on, I saw that, and I saw the people who were posting it. And I know some of these people, right? It's just not, and I'm like, oh, so the reason they post that is because they don't think anybody loves them. And they need proof that somebody cares. And I'm like, I've sort of been there, done that. But, in my shaman training, I realize there's more to the universe than how many likes I get. That's why this YouTube channel has never been about how many people there are. It's who shows up and how we participate. And I feel sad that Free Flow probably misunderstood what I was trying to tell her, but I really do pray that she makes it through her grief and whatever, and that whatever her diet is, spirits are saying she needs to look at her diet. But anyway, I did not mean to be rude or crude, and I think she kind of left in a huff, and I'm sorry about that. So if any of you talk to her or see her or whatever, if and I think she was, but people in touchy moments can misread. No matter how we try to say something kindly, it doesn't sound kind. It sounds like we're attacking them. And but sometimes those are times when somebody needs to step in and say, "Hey, look, just saying," in a loving way. But anyway. But in this idea, though, that the shaman and training thing is the awareness that, listen, there are beings in the universe that we can visit, in our dreams or in our thoughts or, however you want to do it. And that with that, we're never alone. And if you understand that there are all these beings and energies in the universe, and even through the Bible, manna from heaven, and they try to describe it as this or that, and it was something. What if it was just pure energy, being transmitted through the universe? And that the people who wandered for 40 years in the desert, I know it was more than that, but I mean, If they wandered around in that portion of the desert for 40 years, they weren't wandering. Okay. Look on a map and look where they were wandering. And for 40 years, I could have wandered to Manitoba by now. I could have wandered to Cuba by now. In 40 years, I mean, my God. So that 40 years in the desert thing, I just scratch my head and go, okay, they wandered. They must have been crazy. They must have just been going around in circles, or maybe they just set up camp and didn't make a permanent camp or something, but anyway. But so the idea of manna from heaven, and I pulled the card, I believe it's the dolphin card that talks about the manna of the universe, and we accept it. And so in that, absolutely, so the more you understand about spirituality, and for me, it's just a method of saying it as a shaman in training, um, that, when you expand your awareness and get out of that, heaven is a gated community. Don't want to go there. I want to go through the universe. I don't want to go to heaven. I want to go to the universe. And people are still framed in this. Well, the golden gates and the pearly gates and all that. I don't want to go there. I really don't. It may be a step along the way to wave at folks or something like that, but I just don't want to live. I don't want to live in a gated community. I don't want to. I want to be, a spark in the universe, as I feel I have been and will be again. So, but a lot of folks don't get that. And a lot of folks still feel lonely, and a lot of folks still feel, and in the grief of my friend that I've known for over 40 some odd years, I know she's still in the universe. My dear friend Serge that I knew for 30 years almost, right at 30 years, that his spirit is in the universe. So I haven't lost them. They're just not in this 3D dimension. But if you really expand your heart and your mind and your soul and all that kind of good stuff, and accept that we don't just die, there is something again. And through the Dante channel, by the way, that eternal life is reincarnation. So I am in this body now experiencing eternal life. What? Think about it. So if you believe in reincarnation, which I do because of things, and we've had that discussion. But so now the eternal life of a spirit or a soul is that you get to come back. So you don't die, and you don't necessarily be a spirit, and we don't necessarily come back here, but that we are reincarnated. So, the resurrection, what does the resurrection mean? I don't believe everybody's going to crawl out of the grave. Um, can you feel when they visit you? Yeah. I'm going to use the word essence in this, Delaney. In that my spirit guides, there's like sound one way, there's a feeling, an essence. And I get messages from Mother Mary, but not from her. But there are messages that I can tell. It's almost like a fragrance on an envelope that you might get in the mail and go, this is, there's a rose scent. So, oh, this must be from Mary, Then there are other times where, and I want to say it's sort of like the female side of things, I try to look at both sides, right? But what it means to be female these days is so in question. Well, what it means to be male too, um, but it's an essence that I feel. Mel, I think I've got a couple of avatar bodies, quite frankly. And I think for me, I've talked about this before, but I don't brag about it or try to make it an issue. But since we're kind of speaking on it, I have felt like I have been in an avatar on several spaceships. That one time they told me my mission was to be as a communicator for it wasn't the Galactic Council, but it was for the galaxy, and that I was an impartial bystander who was an engineer and a naturalist and that kind of thing. So I wasn't there with any particular political or yeah, I'm going to stand up for planet Earth because I live here, but I'm for any planet that's for using its indigenous qualities and without. But anyway, so and there were times that I could remember entire speeches that I gave before this humongous body of folks in this gymongous council room. And I watched one of the Star Wars things recently, and Padme standing on this thing, she's talking to the Senate. It was bigger than that, and I was an advocate for peace on any planet. That we should follow the one rule to do no harm to others. And I really do feel that if I go to another planet, I'm hoping I retain this knowledge and that to do no harm, that I remember this, because the last time I was here, I was a mean old nasty redneck sumbitch. And this time around, I almost started out that way as a drunk and a slob and but through my life, I realized, no, no, I got to fix this. I ain't coming back around again to fix this issue. I did not learn my lesson. Let me be more positive, and for myself now, accepting the messages that I've gotten from Mother Mary and through her essence. She doesn't show up all the time or visit me, but I get this feeling, and it's her. So, and then there are I am not positive, but there are too many times that I've talked about before in that, hey, Regen, Susie, and so that, and I mean, I was here and had to pee one time, okay, in the middle of something. And I remember jumping out of that avatar wherever I was at, and people going, what's wrong with him? And I'm like stumbling into the bathroom here, which ain't that far, but going into the bathroom and standing there with my eyes closed and going, I'm still in the council chambers and I'm standing here peeing. Oh, this must look really good. You know what I mean? I was like in two places at once. And I've talked about the experiments that I did years ago when I astral projected and this other person could see me. And we recorded times and places and dates and all that. Did it several times and with great effect. And so for me, it has proved many things over the years that I can be in two places at one time, and that depending, before I ever knew what the hell an avatar was. But now there are times when there are questions that I have asked, uh, just in general. A couple of them was for Dante. I was like, he was showing all these other spaceships, right? And I said, I'd really like to see what one of our ships looks like. And the next day there was a video up, and there was like a 2-minute video of one of the Charistus ships. And I was like, son of a bitch. That weekend, I did a video about it. I said that weekend there were two questions, and both of them were answered in the two videos they posted the following day. And I was like, now, if I'm not connected somehow, now the other side of that coin, for those of you who don't know, I did a video, and I've done videos before about the Silent 72 Plus. And it's for all of us people who are working for the good. We're working for the goddess. We're working for the good side of things. We want to preserve. We want to, we want to be human. You know what I'm saying? And not some of these other nasty, evil, whatever, however they got infected. We don't want them. And if they would just stop being evil, wicked, it would be okay. They don't have to agree with us, but they can quit being nasty to us. I'll quit. It's all about honor, and these beings have no honor. Um, Even a snake has a bit of honor. I'm just saying. But so the Dante channel, before it got switched, had reposted one of my videos that I put out there, and he put it on his channel. So after that, some really strange things started happening to me, in that was sort of for me like a thumbs up, in that what I'm doing is correct. Many things I've talked about, Dante will have said something about it, about spirituality. He stated several times, being with the Christus has nothing to do with religion, but it does have to do with, being a good person and a good individual and being honorable and all that kind of stuff. And so it's not about what religion you belong to. And so him supposedly, one of the four brothers in the Christ line, going way back, and he's saying it isn't about religion. So I'm like, that's a thumbs up for me. And he talked in a couple of his videos that was on his other channel that they haven't re-uploaded. But he just sat down on the couch and talked about some stuff, and he hit so many things so right on the nail head, that was my philosophy that I'd learned through other people and stuff. And I was like, so somehow I do feel connected to the Charistus, but I'm not trying to, I don't come out and go, hey, I talked to Dante and these guys, all these angels are on my side. Well, I do kind of believe that they're on my side, but not necessarily that I got a spaceship hovering overhead. Now, there have been times when I have been asked to go outside that I have seen spaceship related stuff several times, and I've talked about them. So that, is it my higher self that told me to go outside and look up to a certain point, and there be this giant explosion and a spaceship debris go across the sky, and you go, holy shit. Because I was just talking about, if one of these days y'all going to show me, you don't have to land in the yard. I just want to know that I saw one for real, and that it's not just a thought, or it's not just a picture or somebody else's video. I just want you to uncloak for 30 seconds and wave at me, and I'll be good, So I was going through that when they said, okay, pull over to the side of the road and watch this. And this thing came in over the sky. Oh my God. And they were like, there you go. And I just sat there I stood on the side of the road looking at this thing, and was that good enough for you? And then later on, I've seen other spaceship kind of things, but I followed this orange orb across the sky coming out of Tallahassee, and it got just past straight overhead, and this white ship appeared, shot a laser beam at it, disappeared, and it hit the orange one, and the orange went, and everything went poof. And I stood out in the yard going, what? And they go, there's another one. How much proof do you need? So just saying, so for me, my contact, whoever they are, go out in the yard and watch this. Okay. For example, I've told a couple of people this, and I was watching some of the chemtrails going across the sky, right? And I've seen this several times in my observations. Now, they call me Hawkeye for a reason. And I've used binoculars and stuff, but I'm looking and I see vapor trails, but I don't see no airplane. And they're just heading across the sky. And I'm like, so where's the flipping airplane? Now, I have seen this many times myself. Again, Dante does a video and, shows that there's actually a spaceship when you don't see an airplane, and many of us have seen it. Where's the airplane? It's a spaceship, but it's putting out that crap. It's the bad guys. And so, they're just vapor trails with no airplane. Now, a lot of them, there's airplanes, don't get me wrong, but every once in a while, for every three or four that you see with an airplane, there's going to be one where there's not going to be an airplane visible. And you're going to scratch your head and go, what? Now, he says that they're the bad guys doing some of this stuff. And I just got to say, having witnessed this myself before he ever said anything, I was like, now, what's doing that right there? Is that the bad guys? And then he does a video on it and shows, look, and zooms in and goes, see, you can see this little, some kind of, it ain't an airplane, and really loaded with a bunch of fumes coming out the back. And I'm going, well, that makes, because I'd almost come to that same conclusion. You got multiple chemtrail UFO bits. Okay. So, see, whether we believe Dante's right or wrong or anything like that, but at least some of his observations, I have noticed the same things. I didn't know, Pearl, that you'd seen them. Planes with no windows. No, these aren't even planes, Max. They're not airplanes. There are no wings and there are no windows. It's just a thing and a bunch of vapor trails. It doesn't even come close to an airplane. But to the point though, we can rarely see Dante, but when we do, he always says valuable info, and he is funny too. And yeah, and he did a video recently I thought was just wonderful, and it's a video of a homeless dog, and that he goes around 2 or 3 times a week or a month or something and takes scraps out to the dogs that have been misplaced because so many people lost their jobs and there's so many homeless animals. So here he is, supposed to be a high muckety muck with the Charistus, and he's out on the street feeding homeless dogs. And you got to say, it's everything that we do, not the big things. It's everything that we do to the critters, to the four-legged, to the dogs. They didn't cause the problems, but because of economic situations and people moving around, and so there's all these homeless critters that don't deserve it. So in his compassion for all things, he's out and does a video feeding dogs. Now you can believe him or not, but I'm like, I understand the type of person that he is, because I am that way in that, I got 5 extra cats. I'm extra milk. I mean, they've gotten a lot of extra money out of me because since they've been born, but that's okay. I've accepted it. They didn't choose to be born. They didn't choose to be hungry. You know what I mean? So we have to look at things in nature and around us and go, can I do something about this or not? I saw the planes with no windows spraying. Yeah. I posted a video of him. He talked about Ishtar war ceremony. Yeah. His recent ones have pictures of what he calls the goddess in them. And gotta say, it's very interesting, So, but for everything that I know about the Charistas, for everything I know, because they're highly, connected to the Bible stuff. So if you believe in the Bible, then you believe in these folk. You know what I mean? They are not the bad guys. But how many people would believe that Azazel and like that Putin is one of the brothers? That was one of the things that I've been observing about Russia and Putin, in that everybody tries to make him out to be the bad guy, when what Dante has pointed out, but what I've watched on my own through RTTV and stuff, he is not the bad guy that everybody claims him to be. Now, there are some Russian mafia folks. I mean, he's got to deal with a parliament type of thing and, committees and everything in Russia, just like a president here in Congress and all the rigmarole that goes on here. So, Trump's a bad guy, Putin's a bad guy, let's pick all the, oh, Trudeau, he's a good guy, but I've done a lot of work on the Christos. Yeah. And so I have stated many times You know, I grew up a Catholic, but I made a bond with Christ and I made a bond with Mary, and not necessarily the Catholic version, okay? That essence of Mary. And in some ways, the goddess, okay? That she's the mother of all things. And, you know, but anyway, not necessarily Mary, but that mother spirit. And she always comforted me and gave me direction and told me I'd be doing this. She didn't tell me when, but so not to go into that conversation but so in my many years of having full-fledged, you know, manifestations here in the house, and when I was a kid, having her come up on me in the field with rabbits sitting at my feet kind of thing. When the moon is in your sign, the oil rests or dies, then is reborn in the oil. It's an interesting video. Look it up. Channel Ishtar with Dante. I need to look at my Facebook. Why? What's there? Oh, I avoid Facebook. I know I got to go out there, but have been avoiding Facebook for whatever reason. I just don't like to go there. Why? What's up, Delaney? You need to look at your Facebook. Okay. I need to check it out here in the next couple of days. I won't do it this morning. It's 2:05. I've been here another hour. But anyway, but here's the thing. You know, Dante, I'm believing him more and more the more I understand things and the more I see things on my own that are related. So I made a video years ago about I am a warrior for Christ, you know, but I'm not working for any religion. I've made my commitment. I'm not working for the dark side in any way. I've made my commitment. I've stated so many times. I've not changed my mind. And so, in that, you know, I'm clear in that. Oh, you sent me messages. Okay, Delaney. I haven't gotten on there. You know, once every 2 or 3 weeks, I pop in. But I have to so I can contact my relatives in Ohio. But anyway, okay, I'll check it out. But anyway, in the grand scheme of things, whether I believe Putin is one of the four brothers or not sure, but I do know this. I've watched him myself and his actions and his words and heard them myself. And it is not the same that America talks about. And I just don't think that's fair. So, whether, you know, and there, oh, let me tell you, let me just toss this into the mix at the moment. We all know, you know, there are some of us that have Catholic backgrounds. Some of us know about the Catholics enough. But here's the thing, the Catholics are pissed at the Pope. They are immortally, some of them want to string him up as a heretic. And they should, because he's a Jesuit. Jesuits were kicked out of the Roman Catholic Church a long time ago. And so there has been a coup on the Catholic Church for a long time. Through Catholic prophecy, this has happened. But the interesting thing is that, you know, the Pope's been talking about ET. Pope's been talking about this. Pope's been talking about that. Pope's been, you know. So, but the people who wish to believe in Christ are saying that the Pope is taking Christ out of the church, and that they're recognizing that this is what he's doing. And a lot of priests, a lot of laymen, and people, longtime Catholics and firm believers. Now, many of them, they still believe, they go to masses that are still in Latin. There's been a lot of information about what Vatican II was all about. And there are many priests and even a bishop or two that's talking about this, in that Novus Orum, I think, or something like that. Anyway, it's the new order of the church. And Catholic prophecy said that when Francis became the Pope, that he would be the last Pope. And he's done everything possible to dismantle Christ and that in the church, to let in Muslims and all this other. So there's all he's playing politics with the rich people and all. I mean, so it's like if he was really for the people in the Catholic Church, and the people in the Catholic Church are priests, nuns, lay people, so there is a religious thing going on. Good, Michelle. So for some people, they need Facebook. And I know there are people out there that's like, they depended on Facebook. And my dear departed friend Marcia was one of those people. And I hated it for her in that she felt like she was alone and needed that constant thing. And, it's all right. I loved her anyway. But I just can't. I've learned I can't be that person. I'm not that person. I don't want to be that type of person. But I will check since Delaney sent me messages. But anyway, so people have personal habits. I understand that, but at the same point, I'm not speaking ill of my friend Marcia. I'm not. But in that she had to be attached, she had to be connected, and no matter where we went, she always had her phone. Is it this or that or this or that? I mean, we're out eating and she's clicking pictures. I'm like, please, we're at the pancake shop. Yeah, okay. She was posting pictures I didn't even know she took. Not that I really care, but the idea though that it was so important for her to do that, that she got mind controlled somehow into thinking that she needed it, that it was a necessity in her life. And I've learned it's just a tool. I like to go out and check and see how people are doing, but for me, it's your living. I got you. See, everybody's got their own particular thing. And I went through the phase for at least a year and a half, 2 years of the Facebook thing. And actually longer than that because I did it in spurts. But and a messenger and this and that, I was using that all the time and communicating with people. But here's what the bottom line was. It was usually over something stupid. At the end of the day, if you piled up all this interaction, pictures and seeing and something and a saying or a comment, whatever it was, at the end of the day, if you could pile up what you actually got out of that interaction, and you could write down in a paragraph on a piece of paper for 9-10 hours of interaction. And I was an engineer, and there were people literally all around that I was in touch with and staying in contact with and stuff. But anyway, so but at the end of the day, through all these messages and all these conversations, what did we actually learn? And I could write it. I honestly, I would write it down in a paragraph and go, wow, that's just interesting, So, but anyway, Max and everybody, if you're still here, it's been 3 hours here for me and 8 folks hanging out. But I think we're all connected. I do. I think we're connected by the choices we make. And I've just made mine verbal and public. You know what I mean? So what makes me different than somebody else? I think at this point, the fact that I just will talk about damn near anything in front of this camera here on YouTube, to try to, have conversation with people and enlightenment and spirituality and all the things I've talked about. But what really is important, and I just think that, you know, I feel humbled many times. Yeah, I seem to have several different sources, but I've got my guardian angel spirit guide. I think I got a guardian angel and a spirit guide. And because it seems like there's two of them up there talking sometimes, and they're like, "Well, what?" And I can hear them joking around, and but it's the same two, whatever that essence is, whatever that is. And so, for those folks who are out there, you've heard me talk about it, Delaney, and all y'all, in that pick your spirit. Make sure you're talking to the same entity, essence, whatever it is. You ask about things, but for God's sakes, don't go out there channeling stuff. Ask about it. Let your spirit guide channel them or something and go, well, I knew Hitler back in the day, divinely inspired to film and document the paranormal things of my life. Go for it, Delaney. Honest to goodness. You've got some crazy vids, man. I've got some crazy pictures that if I put them all up there, I would, and some of the pictures I put up on Facebook, and it has freaked some people out, like those are orbs. Yeah, no, they're just dust particles. No, they ain't, but okay. And I think it's because of my head injuries. I used to see things like more clearly, but now my brain's been so jogged. I sense them, but I don't see them. And before I could get glimpses of them. And then this last time through the mind washing machine, I got to the point where now it's like, okay, so I don't see them, but I can feel the entities and energies around me. So, but anyway, things change as you get older. So, my dear friends, thank you for hanging out with me this long. We changed subjects several times. And to Free Flow, if she ever comes back, my apologies if you felt I was picking on you tonight. I honestly, in some weird way, was trying to help. So, Elderberry, thank you for hanging out. There's not many of us here now, but that's okay. I'm talking with Delaney and all y'all out there, but um, there are still paranormal events that are happening. I know I'm still experiencing different things, and they're messages from the spirit coming from somewhere. And then when you see somebody do a video on it, you got to wonder. That's all. So I'm still wondering. I'm still paying attention. And Max, one of these days, I'm going to get in on one of your classes. I'm just going to be, whether I participate or not, but I will at least come and hang out with you. And know that I love you dearly in my heart, even though you feel like you're a brother of mine, and that we'd probably get along pretty good. That we wouldn't go trading punches or nothing. You know what I mean? I keep thinking about, he uses stainless steel like me. Like, damn, Max, you gave up plastic like I did. That right there is like, tomorrow night, what time? Please. I don't have anything planned. We're coming up on a 20. So, um, did you hear me, Max? What time? At 11. Okay, I got you. All right. So anyway, after all these hours and coming up here on 2:20 Eastern Daylight Time, um, oh, Michelle, I want to ask you a follow-up question. Have you used the humming card thing and with any success? I'm just not worried about it, but curious. Or did you forget? Thank you, Mel, for hanging out. Or being used in calming situations. Yeah. Has it helped? Oh, you did forget. Okay. But all right. So maybe it was spirit, saying, hey, bump you a little on that. Um, Sorry, I'm eating pineapple. But anyway, my friends, dear friends, keep doing what you're doing. And as I always say, and I do mean it, I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to. Michelle, they're telling me to get yourself a card or a piece of paper or something and just write hum on it and stick it on the refrigerator or someplace. They were showing it to me is that you put it in your back pocket, and then anytime you needed like an ace in the hole, as they would say, you would reach in your back pocket and pull this card out, and all it says on it is hum, and that you would know what it means. So, but anyway, that's what I saw the first time, and they're showing me that picture again. But anyway, whether or not you keep it in your back pocket, it's sort of that for being on stage and stuff like that. There were times where we'd put our script in our back pocket or a note or something in a particular scene. And so when we were backstage waiting for a cue, we could, I could pull out my thing and just look over it and go, yeah, okay, I got it, and stick it back in my back pocket. So anyway, yeah, there you go. Just hum and put it where you can see it. But then the as you see it, you'll remember it and you'll remember what the hum means. So, but that's just a curious thing for me, and to see whether or not it's effective. But anyway, I know you need all the help you get, and you don't get enough sleep and rest. So, but and maybe that's why they had me bring it back up to you tonight. In that, when you're frazzled and dazzled, you forget things that are actually simple, useful tools. And we as human beings just experience that. And for me, part of my being here is that, to try to help out. And I really got the feeling that I messed up with free flow tonight, but I don't know how to get out of that, except that I hope I didn't mean any harm. But yeah, so let's pass the good energy around. But and supposedly I know that for myself, when you start becoming the elder, which I am old, and it's kind of sort of your duty to help people, remind them just of certain simple things. And if I'm here to say, hey, Michelle, how's that humming coming along? Then that's, part of an elder's job, I guess, especially with the soul tribe. So um, I appreciate you all very much. Thank you for hanging out and being there, and for being there for each other. I think it's very necessary. And I continue to pray on that. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every day when I put my feet on the ground and take Duggar outside, that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives and relations will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And in that law of three, which is real important to me, I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many great blessings from the universe. And that you will continue to learn how to reject the negatives and accept only those things in your life that you need. So thank you very much. Have a great Saturday and Sunday. I don't know when I'll be back. I will try to catch Max tomorrow at 11. And so from South Georgia is TTFN. Much love, everybody. Cosmic hugs. Keep it between the ditches, as we say down here. And we might actually get some rain. So blessings, everybody. And please, 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 cheers. Do the best you can and believe, 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 and have faith.